Lacking emotional fortitude is the reason why you are anxious attached, insecurely attached, disorganized attached, or avoidant. Lacking emotional fortitude is the reason why you have more anxiety, more depression, why you're insecure in general, why you make less connections, why you're less attractive, why you make less money, and literally like every problem in terms of self-sabotage in your life comes from a lack of emotional fortitude. A lack of emotional fortitude basically means that you don't know how to regulate your emotions, and so your emotions tend to regulate or control you. And so you're constantly in fear or going with whatever the emotion is, and it causes sabotage in your life. So I'm going to show you how to fix it really quickly. When I was a kid, my first job was working at Target, and I was afraid to learn register because I had math anxiety growing up. At least I was told I did. The idea of counting money in front of people made me very uncomfortable. So anytime the manager came around, I knew they were going to ask if I was ready to get trained on register, so I would just avoid the manager. I would actually hide from the manager and do everything I could to avoid getting trained. Well, eventually they caught me and they said, "Hey, get over here. We're going to train you on register." I was nervous at first to start counting money in front of customers. But what I found is that once I did it, the machine does a lot for you, and the little work that I had to do to count change in front of the customer was scary. And at times I did make mistakes, but it wasn't the end of the world, and I was able to get past it. And most of the time it was actually very easy. And as a result, I was trained on register, and that made me adept at everything in the store, which made me like a Target god, because now I could work any department. Eventually I became manager of my own department at 19 years old. So by overcoming the fear, I was able to actually become a master of my life. Likewise, your fears are controlling you. When you stop letting the fears control you, you can learn emotional regulation. In other words, you control yourself and control the emotions instead of letting the emotions control you. And then you can finally do the public speaking that you've been avoiding, or the relationships that you've been avoiding, or the talking about your feelings, which you've been avoiding, or whatever it is in your life that's been holding you back. It all comes down to you following the feelings or the emotions. So how do you do this? Well, have you ever seen in those kung fu movies or something where the kid is training, or a young man is training to become an ultimate ninja warrior? So he's just punching a tree repeatedly. And as you watch something like that, you're thinking, I don't want to punch a tree repeatedly. That looks painful. But at the same time, you can logically deduce that would make him more pain tolerant for when he's punching stuff. And since he wants to become a warrior, that would be useful. Now, you have to do the same thing. Not punch trees, literally, because you're not trying to become a literal warrior, but you have to do the things that cause pain and do the things that you fear. And it's by doing the things that you're afraid of and that are potentially painful that you actually build up the tolerance for it. Remember that once I did the thing, against my will, by the way, of learning register and started counting money in front of people, I now learned a very useful life skill. If you want to be in business, you may need to count money in front of people. If you want to do business, even buy things, you have to be able to count money in front of people. And by learning that skill, I built up the tolerance for the pain of maybe making a mistake or taking too long. And the fear, I overcame it because it becomes less and less fearful once you do it. So think for a moment about what it is you fear doing. And now understand that once you move toward it, you get closer to being past it. The initial time you may feel a very large spike in your anxiety and your fear. But once you do the action that you fear the most, even if it goes wrong, you'll be less fearful the next time because you've already gone through the worst. A lot of times it doesn't go wrong, and then you're less fearful the next time because it didn't go as bad as you thought. Doing the thing you fear gains you the confidence. Avoiding the thing you fear makes you more sensitive to it. The more I avoid register, the more afraid I am of it. The more you avoid public speaking, the more afraid you are of it. The more you avoid relationships, the more afraid you are, and the list goes on. Courage is vulnerability. That means you are stepping out to make yourself vulnerable to get hurt. That's what courage is. putting yourself in a position to get hurt. So I know it sounds undesirable. You're not watching this video like, I can't wait to go and do that. But do it anyway. That's the whole point. You can feel the fear, but do it anyway. And when you do, you will build emotional fortitude. And when you have emotional fortitude, you're unstoppable.